Okay, so here we have a number guessing game. This is a two-player game that we're making, and how it will work is player 1 is going to just choose a number randomly 1 through 100. They're not going to show player 2 what they typed in on the screen, and then what player 2 is going to do is they're going to guess that number. And so every time they guess, we're going to keep count of how many guesses they put in, and if they put in a number that's higher than the number chosen by player 1, it's going to say that that they're too high, and if they put in a number that's lower than what was chosen, then it'll say that they're too low, and if there's a match, we will say that as well. So in this specific lesson, we are going to be learning about the do-while loop, which is similar to the while loop, just backwards, really. And yeah, I'll just actually kind of show you what it looks like first before we jump in. So if you remember the while loop, how we set it up was we had some brackets. We'd say while, inside these parentheses, while this is true, execute the code that's in the brackets. Now the do while loop looks very similar to this, except it's exactly backwards. And make sure you add this semicolon at the end here too. But basically it's the same in that you'll execute some code that's inside the brackets, but you won't do this check. You won't see if it's true until after that code is executed. So basically you can choose if you want to do the check before you execute some code or if you want to do the check after you execute some code. And we're going to be doing the do while in this specific program. So let's get us started here. We're just going to print out to the users what the game is. So let's say player 1, choose a number between 1 and 100. And we'll need something to hold that in. So an integer, and we'll just say this is the master number. Okay, so player 1 puts in that number, and then what we're going to do for player 2, we're going to ask them to put in a guess. So we're going to need a guess number. We'll also need a guess count. So we're going to need variables for that. So let's go ahead and create those. So integer guess number, and we're going to initialize it. We're just going to say it's 0 to begin with. And then we're going to have int guess current, and that will be the number that they put in each time. So the do while loop, what we're going to begin by doing here, let's move this down so you can see my pseudocode. Alright, so the do while loop, what we're going to do is we are going to ask player 2 to enter a guess. And then we're going to put that into the guess current. So cn guess current. And then we're going to increment the guess count because we want to keep track of how many times they've guessed. So we'll just say guess num plus plus. And so each time this do while loop goes through, it's going to just add 1 to whatever this is. So the first time it goes through, it'll add 1 to 0, then that will be a 1. The second time it goes through, it'll add 1 to 1, so this will be a 2, and I hope you get that. So it pulls in the answer to guess current, and then we're going to use our if statement again to compare. So let's go ahead and just say if guess current is less than master number. We're going to print out too small. And likewise, if it is greater than So say else if guess current is greater than master number, then we're going to say it's too big. And then finally, the only other option would be if we had a match, and we'll just put that inside our else statement here. Because it can either be too small, too big, or it can be an exact match. So we'll say cout, and we'll say match. Good job. And then we would need to have some way to make sure our loop breaks here. So this will just keep going on forever until we make sure that whatever in here breaks. So what we can do is we can have our guess current. We can say while the current guess current, does not equal the master number, keep going. So what will happen is it'll run through this, it'll do everything that we did, everything that we set up, it'll run through and it'll ask the user for a guess, it'll increment the number of guesses, and then it'll compare to see if it's too small, too big, if it's a match, and then at the end of all that it'll finally see if the current guess is equal to the master number. If it is, this will not work. This while what's in here will evaluate to true. So if this is equal to 1 and this is equal to 1, this will not, this whole statement here will evaluate to false, because 1 not equal to 1 is false because they are equal. So this will stop the while loop and then we'll end our program. Alright, and so after the while loop has broken, the do while loop is broken, we want to tell the user how many guesses it took them to pick up on what player 1 had put in. So let's go ahead and put that statement there. Let's say total guesses, and what did we name it? Guess num. Perfect. And let's just kind of look over here. Let's say player 2, enter a number. Enter a guess between 1 and 100. Alright, so let's run it now. Build and run. Alright, so player 1, go ahead and choose a number between 1 and 100. Let's go ahead and just put in 67. Alright, player 2, enter a guess between 1 and 100. And we'll just test each of the possible branches that we could. So let's go ahead and say, let's go ahead and put 33, too small, perfect, this too small worked. Let's go ahead and put in 99, it's too big, it's not going to work either. And as you see, it keeps looping through. And we'll put in just one more, oh, too small again. But this time let's do the exact match, make sure everything's working. Alright, so there we go. We got an exact match, but we had an error here. This should say 4. It should not say 67. So that means that I made a mistake with my variable that I put in. Let's go take a look. Alright, yep, and I should have made guess current. This should be guess num. And that's kind of a lesson as far as naming your variables. You should make it something distinct so you don't make those little errors, but as you can see, I'm incrementing the guess each time, and this is holding the current number each time. So let's try it one more time just to make sure program works as expected. And player 1 is choosing 67 again, and we'll just do each one. So that's too small, too big, just right, and perfect. Total number of guesses is 3. Perfect. Good job. For deeper learning on C++, visit us at makethingswithcpp.com and be sure to like and subscribe.